A chapter chief's daughter was snatched in the middle of the day. 87 riders hunted her to a derelict factory and smashed through the gates, primed for war. What they discovered within that evening would ignite a conflict no one anticipated and demolish a trust no one could bear to lose. Cole's hands refused to be still. The disposable cell sat on the counter in the Steel Phantom's headquarters, its display lit with a stark message. "She's here. Arrive by yourself or she perishes." Beneath it, GPS coordinates pulsed like a frantic heart. "Lily," Cole murmured, gazing at the image that had come through just minutes before. His 12-year-old girl, blindfolded, with a gag, slumped against a cinder block wall. "Rook," the chapter chief clasped Cole's shoulder. "How long has she been missing?" "A couple of hours, maybe more. She was heading home from band practice. Her cell is dead, and I—" Cole's voice fractured. He was a giant of a man, 6'4" with forearms like thick ropes, but in that moment he seemed on the verge of breaking. "We move," Rook declared, his tone slicing through the tension in the room. "Every one of us." In less than 20 minutes, 87 massive motorcycles thundered to life in the compound lot. The Steel Phantom's motorcycle club, every member capable of straddling a bike, created a convoy that snaked for a quarter-mile along the shadowed interstate. Their motors produced a roar that shook the glass in nearby sleepy homes as they raced toward the coordinates on the edge of Keystone City. Cole rode at the front with Rook, his grip on the handles bone-white. Behind them, Bear commanded the group, a broad-shouldered man with a salt-and-pepper beard who had been riding longer than most members had been alive. They were welders, longshoremen, former soldiers, and bouncers. But on this night, they were a brotherhood on a recovery mission. The factory loomed ahead like a skeletal ruin, a deserted industrial complex flanked by vacant fields and decaying barbed wire fencing. No illumination, no sign of life, only shadows and the scent of decay. Rook lifted his hand, and the convoy decelerated. They killed their lights a half-mile away, the ensuing quiet almost painful after the sustained roar. 87 men swung off their bikes and advanced on foot, fanning out like a practiced squad. Some held pipes, others wielded tire irons. A handful had firearms holstered at their hips for emergencies. Cole was the first to reach the factory entrance, kicking it open with a force that nearly ripped it from its frame. "Lily," he bellowed into the gloom. Rook activated a powerful flashlight, its beam piercing through the motes of dust and deep shadows. The factory was immense. 3 levels of vacant space, corroded equipment, and stone columns. And there, in the middle of the ground floor, illuminated by a sliver of moonlight from a shattered window high above, sat 2 chairs. 2 young girls, both with their eyes covered, both gagged, both secured with heavy-duty ties. "Daddy," a choked voice called out. "Lily." Cole charged ahead, Bear and a few others just steps behind him. Cole fell to his knees, yanking the blindfold off first. His daughter's tear-stained face came into view, her eyes puffy and raw. He tore the gag off, and she collapsed into his arms, sobbing. "I've got you, my girl. I've got you, Cole." Bear spoke softly, gesturing with his head to the second girl. She looked to be about 13 or 14, with dark hair, a similar frame to Lily, her face still covered. One of the younger prospects, Leo, went to free her. "Who is she?" Rook inquired. Leo removed her blindfold. The girl squinted in the beam of the flashlight, tears carving paths down her dirty cheeks. "Please," she whimpered. "Please, I just want to go home." "We won't harm you, kid," Rook said reassuringly. "What's your name?" "Chloe." The name landed in the space like a shock wave. "Chloe," Bear echoed, his voice low. Silas's daughter. Silas Thorne, the head of the Crimson Serpents, the rival motorcycle club that dominated the west side of Keystone City. The Steel Phantoms and Crimson Serpents had been in a territorial struggle for 6 years. Brawls, property damage, threats. Nothing of this magnitude. But Silas's daughter. Why would both girls be here together? Leo wondered, his expression a mask of confusion. Before a response could be formed, bright lights flooded the factory's windows. Not one vehicle, not two, but at least 30 motorcycles. Their engines created a mounting rumble that grew steadily louder. "Move!" Rook yelled. "Get the girls out of here now!" But it was too late. The factory gates burst open, and the Crimson Serpents swarmed in like a rising tide. Denim cuts, face coverings, weapons drawn. At their head rode Silas Thorne himself, a wiry man with combed-back hair and emotionless eyes that locked onto Rook instantly. "Where in the hell is my daughter?" Silas's voice reverberated off the metal walls. "She's here," Rook replied, his hands up. "We just got here. Found them both." "Both?" Silas's gaze hardened. He dismounted, shadowed by a score of his men. The Serpents spread out, matching the Phantoms' formation. 87 men on one side, close to 70 on the other, all armed, all on edge. Silas's eyes found Chloe, now freed from her bonds, standing protected behind Bear. "Chloe." He started toward her but froze when he saw Lily clutching Cole. "What in the hell is going on?" "We have no idea," Rook stated calmly. "Cole's daughter was snatched. We received GPS data. We got here and found both of them. No one watching them, no demands, nothing." "How convenient," a serpent sneered. "Awfully convenient that you just stumbled upon her." "We didn't harm her," Rook retorted. "We just arrived." "Then explain why we received an anonymous message saying the Phantoms had Chloe." Silas's hand drifted toward his sidearm. "Why would we be told you were responsible?" "Anonymous message?" Cole's tone was menacing. "We received a text on a burner. GPS data. Somebody wanted us to be here." The two groups faced off across the factory floor, a grim realization spreading between them like a slow poison. "This is a setup," Bear murmured. Silas and Rook held each other's gaze. Neither flinched. "Get your girls and leave," Silas finally stated. "But if I discover you were involved in this—" "The same applies to you," Rook cut in. "Lily is 12 years old. If you believe we would use her as a pawn—" "Let's just leave," one of the senior serpents urged before a mistake was made. The two clubs retreated slowly, each unwilling to show their backs. The Phantoms moved towards the east exit with Lily. The Serpents went west with Chloe. Engines ignited outside, the competing roars battling in the night. But as Rook got to his bike, he saw something that chilled him to the bone. The factory had surveillance cameras, old and likely inactive, but one of them had a small, pulsing red light. Someone had been observing. Someone had wanted them here at the same time, and that someone had just ignited the fuse on a bomb. The Steel Phantom's headquarters reeked of stale beer and regret. It was 7 in the morning, and no one had gotten any sleep. Lily was secure at home with Cole's ex, but the unanswered questions kept growing. Rook was at the front of the massive oak table as 24 of his most trusted men gathered, their voices escalating in furious debate. "It's simple," yelled Viper, a lean man with intricate tattoos covering his arms. "The Serpents took both girls to make it seem like a third party was involved. A classic false flag." "Why would they take their own?" countered Bear, rubbing his exhausted eyes. "To mislead us. Silas is cunning enough to sacrifice a piece if it ensures he wins the game." Rook slammed his fist on the table. "We don't have all the facts yet. No one acts until we understand what truly transpired." "What is there to understand?" Viper shot up, his stool scraping loudly against the floor. "They arrive at the same time we do. That's not a coincidence, Rook. That's a coordinated effort." "Or someone sent them a tip just like someone sent us one," Rook replied, his voice strained. Leo rushed in, holding his phone. "Rook, you have to look at this." He set the phone on the table. It was a message from a blocked number. "Serpents are planning an attack on the North Side Auto Shop tomorrow. They believe you took Chloe. Be prepared." "When did this arrive?" Rook asked. 3 minutes ago. But there's more." Leo swiped through his texts. Manny got one as well, and so did Bones. Different numbers, same general warning. The serpents are out for blood. The room went wild. "I told you! We need to get our weapons now. Attack them before they can attack us." Rook's jaw was tight. This was precisely what the manipulator wanted. Chaos, finger-pointing, and bloodshed. But he couldn't shake the gnawing fear in his own gut. What if the serpents were really planning an attack? Across the city, the Crimson Serpent's compound was in a similar state of disarray. Silas paced before his leadership, his denim cut tossed on a chair, his black t-shirt damp with perspiration despite the cool morning air. Chloe had been brought back to her mother, unharmed. But Silas couldn't shake the feeling that something was profoundly off. "They had her," said Roman, Silas's right-hand man. "The Phantoms had Chloe tied up in that factory." "They claimed they had just found her," Silas responded, his tone lacking certainty. "And you buy that?" Roman's laugh was sharp. "Come on, Chief. Rook has been searching for a reason to push into our territory for ages. This is his move. Take Chloe, make it seem like a mysterious third party did it, then play the hero when we arrive." "Then why was Cole's daughter also there?" Silas countered. "A decoy to make the story more plausible," Roman insisted. "Or perhaps she wasn't really taken. Maybe Cole was in on it." Silas's phone buzzed, then another, then 3 more from around the room. "What the hell?" Roman took out his phone, his expression darkening as he scanned the message. He held the screen out for Silas. "Phantoms are bringing in their Red Creek chapter. They're planning an assault on the compound. Get ready." "I got one too," another serpent said, displaying his phone. "Different number." "Same here," a third confirmed. Silas felt a chill run down his spine. 7 texts, 7 different blocked numbers, all delivering the same message. The Steel Phantoms were getting ready for an all-out war. "This is it," Roman said softly. "They're making their move." "We don't know that for sure." "Chief!" A younger member sprinted in from the entrance. "We just heard from our contact at O'Malley's pub. A few Phantoms were there last night, asking about our shipping schedules. They're gathering intel." Silas's hands clenched into fists. Gathering intel. Anonymous texts. His daughter taken and conveniently rescued by their adversaries. The evidence was pointing to a conclusion he didn't want to accept, but could no longer deny. "Get everyone armed," he said, his voice low. "Put extra guards on the compound. No one rides by themselves. And I want surveillance on the Phantom's headquarters around the clock." "Now you're thinking," Roman smirked, but Silas raised a hand. "We stay on defense. We do not attack first, not until we have confirmation. And if they attack us, we will crush them." By midday, both headquarters were like armed camps. The Phantoms had men posted at every access point to their territory, on the lookout for serpent surveillance. Weapons were passed out. Old debts were called in. The auto shop was turned into a temporary weapons depot. The serpents did the same, fortifying their compound with steel plates, amassing ammo, and summoning every member from neighboring towns. The compound became an impenetrable fortress. Rook stood on the roof of the headquarters, binoculars in hand, surveying the area. Bear joined him. "The men are spoiling for a fight," Bear said. "I know, but I don't think we should give them one." Rook put down the binoculars. I feel like we're being manipulated, Bear. It's a gut feeling. Someone drew us to that factory. Someone is sending these texts. This doesn't feel like Silas's style. What if your gut is wrong? Bear asked, his voice low. What if we hold back and they strike us first? How many of our own will be lost because you held back? Rook had no reply. Kyo. His phone vibrated. Another blocked number. Another text. Serpents just loaded 3 vans with weapons an hour ago. They're coming for you tonight. Defend your people. Rook looked at the text, his finger hovering over the delete option. Every part of him knew this was a setup, but any delay could mean lives lost. Get everyone in position, he finally commanded. If they attack, we will not be caught off guard. Bear nodded and went back down. Rook gazed west toward Serpent territory, where he was certain Silas was looking back, wrestling with the same difficult choices. Somewhere in the city, someone was watching with satisfaction. The fuse was burning down quickly. Rook couldn't get any rest. While the other phantoms readied for battle below, he was alone in his office, looking at the city map on the wall. Blue tacks indicated their territory. Red tacks indicated the serpents. For 6 years, those tacks had largely remained in place, a standoff born of a shared animosity. But now, an unseen hand was shifting the pieces. His phone was on the desk, quiet since the last anonymous text 4 hours ago. Who was behind them? Why go after both clubs? The abduction didn't fit a typical ransom scenario. No demands for money, no attempt at gaining power, just 2 terrified girls left in a vacant factory like bait. Bait. Rook's gaze fixated on the map. The factory was in a neutral zone, the same distance from both headquarters, ideal for a public confrontation, with the highest probability of a clash. Someone had wanted them to meet there. He took his keys and went downstairs. Bear was doing a weapons count in the auto shop, surrounded by crates of ammo and heavy tools that could serve as weapons. Bear, get Styx and Hawk. We're going for a ride. Where to? Back to the factory. Bear looked up, concerned. That's a death wish if the serpents are keeping an eye on it. That's precisely why we're going. The person who set this up left those girls for us to find. It's possible they left something else behind as well. 30 minutes later, 4 motorcycles coasted silently down the road to the factory, their lights off. Rook had selected his crew with care. Bear for his calm thinking, Styx for his keen observation skills, and Hawk because the quiet Native American could navigate the shadows as if he were one of them. They left their bikes a few blocks away and moved in on foot. The factory seemed even more menacing in the dark. Its shattered windows looked like hollow eyes gazing into the void. Rook guided them through the same entrance they had forced open the day before. His flashlight beam cut through the cavernous space. "What are we searching for?" Styx asked in a low voice. "Anything that seems out of place." They fanned out, examining the area where the girls had been found. The chairs remained, with the cut ties scattered on the floor. Hawk discovered new tire marks by the loading bay. Several vehicles, and they were here recently. "Someone came here after we did," Hawk noted. "Or before," Rook corrected. "Scan the entire area. I want to know every way in and out." While the others explored the main floor, Rook ascended the corroded steel staircase to the next level. The walkways were unstable, with missing grates and decaying handrails. His flashlight swept over old equipment, spray-painted tags, and bird nests. Nothing. He went up to the 3rd level, where the walkways narrowed into beams above the main floor. This was where the surveillance camera had been positioned, the one with the pulsing red light. Rook inspected it up close. It wasn't connected to anything. The cables had been severed long ago, but the light was authentic. Someone had attached a battery-operated LED to it to create the illusion of being recorded. Mind games, Rook grumbled. He was about to descend when his flashlight beam caught something tucked between two steel beams. A large envelope, sealed with heavy tape and intentionally placed where it could only be seen from that high vantage point. Rook's heart began to race. He carefully retrieved it. The envelope was heavy, protected by a plastic covering. Someone had taken significant measures to keep its contents safe. Rook went down to the second level, where he had more space, and tore it open. It contained 3 things. First, a comprehensive map of Keystone City, with both headquarters clearly marked. Hand-drawn circles indicated patrol schedules, supply drop points, and security weaknesses for both territories. Someone had been observing them for a long time. Second, copies of both club emblems, the Steel Phantom's winged skull and the Crimson Serpent's coiled snake. Both were marked with large red X's. Third, a message in neat block letters. Let them destroy each other. We will take what remains. Rook felt a chill go through him. Bear, he called out. Come up here. The large man made his way up, his breathing heavy. Rook gave him the envelope without a word. Bear looked over the contents twice, his expression grim. My God. This was never about the girls, Rook said. They were just the catalyst. Someone wants the serpents and us to annihilate each other. Who? I have no idea. But look at this map. Rook laid it out on the walkway. These aren't just our areas marked. See these circles beyond Route 17? That's the old salvage yard. No one goes out there anymore. A storage area, maybe, or a headquarters. Rook ran his finger over the marks. Someone has been orchestrating this for a while, Bear. The abductions, the anonymous texts, all of it. They're trying to provoke a war. Why? Rook indicated the message again. To take what remains. Think about it. Both clubs wipe each other out, and a new group moves in and seizes control of everything. Our territories, our networks, our operations. A total takeover. Bear's jaw hardened. We have to inform the others. No. Rook refolded the map. Half our club is ready for a fight right now. If I tell them it's not the serpents, they'll think I'm making it up. Some might even see it as a sign of weakness. So, what's our move? Rook looked at the crossed-out emblems. We find out who is truly responsible, and we have to do it before those anonymous texts push someone to do something reckless. What about Silas? Does he know? I don't know. Maybe the serpents have found their own clues, maybe not. But if we're correct about this, Rook looked Bear in the eyes. The real threat isn't on the other side of town. It's somewhere else entirely, and they're observing both of us, just waiting for the first shot to be fired. Hawk's voice came from below. Rook, we've got visitors. Headlights illuminated the factory walls, multiple vehicles approaching at high speed. Rook put the envelope in his jacket. Exit through the rear. They hurried down the stairs as engines roared outside. Through the broken windows, Rook saw motorcycles and pickup trucks. Too many to be a small group. Serpents, Styx whispered. I don't know, and I'm not sticking around to find out. They escaped through the loading bay and sprinted to their bikes, starting the engines just as the first vehicle came into view. But instead of giving chase, the newcomers pulled up to the factory entrance. Rook took one last look back as they sped off. The vehicles were plain. No club insignias, no logos, just dark shapes watching other dark shapes. Rook spent the following day doing something he hadn't done in a long time, asking questions instead of issuing commands. He began at Manny's Auto Repair, a greasy shop on the south side where mechanics repaired everything from family cars to high-end motorcycles. The proprietor, a large man named Manny, had been sourcing parts from the Phantoms for over a decade. Manny, have you heard anything about new groups in the city? Rook asked, leaning on a workbench. Anyone trying to claim territory? Manny cleaned grease off his hands, his gaze shifting uneasily. I don't know anything about that, Rook. You're a bad liar. Manny sighed. All right, about a month ago, this person comes in. Never seen them before. Asks if I'd be open to getting parts from someone other than you or the Serpents. Said he could offer better prices than both of you. What did he look like? He had a tattoo on his neck. A scorpion, I believe, or maybe a spider. I'm not sure. I wasn't really looking closely. I told him I was happy with my current suppliers. A scorpion tattoo. Rook made a mental note. Did he say anything else? Just that the situation here was about to change very soon. That the old clubs were on their way out. Manny shrugged. I thought he was just talking big. Rook visited 3 other spots that afternoon. A rough bar called the Rusty Anchor, a self-storage place by the industrial park, and a pawn shop known for dealing in gray market goods. The narrative was consistent everywhere. Unidentified men asking questions, making proposals, and speaking about the phantoms and serpents as if they were relics of the past. At the pawn shop, Rook got his first solid clue. A guy tried to sell me some tactical-grade stun grenades, the owner said, his voice tense. Brand new, still in the box. I told him I don't handle that kind of stuff, but he mentioned he had a large quantity stored at a junkyard out past Greystone. Greystone, that's 2 counties away. Yeah. He said it was an ideal spot because no one pays attention to that area anymore, too isolated from the city. Rook called Bear right away. Get Cole and Leo. We're going for a drive to Greystone. Meanwhile, across the city, Silas was running his own investigation. The Crimson Serpents had a different method. They weren't making inquiries at local businesses. They were tailing people. Roman had received a tip that someone was attempting to recruit younger serpents, offering more money and excitement than Silas's leadership could provide. 2 members had been propositioned at a bar the week before, but they had reported it right away. They're targeting the dissatisfied, Roman noted as he and Silas sat in a nondescript car, observing a tavern from across the road. People who might be unhappy with the current state of things. Have we lost anyone lately? Silas asked. A few guys over the last year, all of them left. Said they were done with the life, but Kane wasn't convinced. Kane was the Serpent's enforcer, a man of few words who paid attention to the details. He had been keeping an eye on a former member, a reckless individual named Jet, who had been expelled for instigating pointless conflicts. There, Roman gestured. Jet came out of the tavern with 2 other men Silas didn't know. They got into a pickup with out-of-state plates. Tail them, Silas commanded. They followed the truck through the city traffic, keeping a safe distance. Jet and his companions drove west, leaving the urban area for the open country. The scenery shifted from commercial strips to open fields to an industrial no-man's land. Where in the world are they headed? Roman wondered. The truck veered off the main road onto a dirt path. Silas had Roman switch off the lights, and they parked behind a dilapidated silo. They proceeded on foot, using the tall grass for cover. Half a mile up, they spotted it. A massive junkyard filled with wrecked vehicles, rusted equipment, and heaps of scrap. But unlike other deserted junkyards, this one had lights, activity, and armed guards. Are you seeing this? Roman asked in a hushed tone. Using binoculars, Silas counted at least 20 individuals moving among the scrap heaps. Trucks were arranged in neat lines. Someone had converted old shipping containers into what appeared to be barracks, and in the middle, clearly visible in the bright lights, crates were being moved from a truck. They're building up their resources, Silas said softly. Weapons, gear. They're preparing for something. A man came out of one of the containers, a tall individual in a leather jacket. Even at this distance, Silas knew who it was. Cross, he muttered. Roman turned his head sharply. Cross, your former second-in-command. Silas nodded, his expression grim. Cross had been the Serpent's second-in-command 4 years ago, until a dispute over expanding their territory escalated. Silas had expelled him from the club. It had been a messy separation. Betrayals, ultimatums, shattered allegiances. Cross had vowed to get even before he vanished. He's not by himself, Roman said, refocusing the binoculars. The guy by the truck, isn't that Viper from the Phantoms? Silas took the binoculars. Indeed, a lean man with recognizable tattoos was supervising the unloading of weapons. He had heard of Viper, a troublemaker Rook had kicked out of the Steel Phantoms 3 years ago for unauthorized dealings. Ex-members, Silas said, his voice low. From both our clubs. They're collaborating. Not just collaborating, they've been planning this. Silas's mind reeled with the implications. The abductions, the texts, all of it. It's a breakaway group formed by the people we ousted. They want revenge on both of us by tricking us into a war. Exactly. Silas took out his phone, his finger hovering over Rook's contact. He had never contacted the Phantom's leader directly. They always used go-betweens or didn't communicate at all, but this was a game-changer. Rook's phone rang just as he was nearing the same junkyard from the north. He looked at the screen. Silas Thorne. Bear, sitting next to him, saw it too. Are you going to take it? Rook answered. Thorne, we need to have a talk. Silas's voice was tense. Right now, are you in Greystone? Rook's eyes widened. How did you... Because I'm here too, and I'm looking at a junkyard full of people who want both of us eliminated. A long pause. North or south side? Rook asked. South. We're on the north. Stay where you are. Do not engage. I wasn't going to. Silas paused. Rook, we've been manipulated. I know. I discovered clues at the factory. It's ex-members, isn't it? Yes. Yours and mine, working in concert. How many are there? I can see at least 20 from my position. Same here. This is a much bigger operation than we imagined. Rook watched another vehicle pull into the junkyard. More crates being unloaded. These weren't just disgruntled ex-members seeking revenge. This was a well-organized, well-funded, and patient operation. We need to meet, Rook said, in person. When? Tomorrow at dawn, a neutral location. The cafe off Highway 88, 6 a.m. I'll be there. Rook ended the call and looked at Bear. We're meeting with the Serpents? Bear asked, his tone cautious. No, Rook said. I'm meeting with Silas, just the two of us. Because if we don't put a stop to this, there won't be any Phantoms or Serpents left to fight over anything. Rook got back to the headquarters at 11 p.m. Drained but with a clear purpose. He had 6 hours before his meeting with Silas. 6 hours to prevent his club from igniting a war. But the breakaway group had different intentions. The first text came in at 11:47 p.m. Leo ran into Rook's office, phone in hand. Chief, we have an issue. Several members just got this. Rook read the message. Serpents are making a move tonight. 4 a.m. Attack on the headquarters. They know about your meeting with Silas. It's a setup. Protect yourselves. It's a lie, Rook said instantly. Someone is trying to prevent me from meeting with Silas. Maybe, but look at this. Leo showed him an image that was attached to the text. A grainy photo of motorcycles parked in front of the Serpent's compound. Riders putting on tactical gear. Rook's heart sank. The photo seemed recent, authentic. Downstairs, the situation was escalating. Viper's voice was the loudest. I told you they were on their way. We have to attack first. Everyone, calm down, Rook called out as he came down the stairs. But the atmosphere in the room was thick with fear and hostility. That text is a fake. It's the same people who took the girls trying to... Then what about the photo? Viper held his phone up to Rook's face. This was taken 30 minutes ago. The Serpents are getting ready for something. For a defensive move, most likely. They're receiving the same false information we are. Or you're too naive to see what's happening. Viper's words resonated in the room. Several members nodded in agreement. Bear stepped up. Viper, you need to stand down. No. Rook is meeting with Silas tomorrow. That's a suicide mission. They'll take him out and then attack us while we're without a leader. Viper addressed the group. We have to protect ourselves now. Secure this place. If they come at 4 a.m., we need to be prepared. The room was filled with shouts of agreement. Rook saw the terror in their eyes. These were his men, but they were afraid for their homes, their lives, their territory. Logic was being overwhelmed by a rush of adrenaline. All right, Rook said, his voice cutting through the clamor. We will defend, but no one leaves this compound. No one initiates anything. We maintain our position and wait. That is an order. And if they do attack? Viper challenged. Then we defend what's ours. But we will not be the ones to fire the first shot. It was the only compromise Rook could make. Members dispersed to secure the headquarters, barricading windows, setting up lookouts, and preparing their weapons. The compound became a fortress, ready for a siege. Rook pulled Bear to the side. I need you to keep everyone in check. Don't let Viper do anything foolish. Where are you going? To make sure Silas knows these texts are fake. At the Crimson Serpent's compound, the situation was the same, but worse. Silas stood in the middle of his meeting room, encircled by irate voices. The texts had started arriving on their phones at the same time. Phantoms are launching an attack before dawn, 4 a.m. Rook's meeting with you is a diversion. His men will strike while you're gone. Get ready for war. The attached photo showed Rook's headquarters looking like a military outpost. Members moving weapons, lookouts on the roof. It's a trick, Silas said, his voice tight. Can't you see? They want us to act rashly. Then why are the Phantoms fortifying their position? Roman demanded, showing him the photo. This was taken 40 minutes ago. Because they're likely receiving the same false intel about us. Or they're getting ready to attack, one of the younger Serpents yelled. Silas, we can't just stand by. We're not standing by. We're defending. No one leaves. We secure the compound. But unlike Rook, Silas was losing his grip on the room. 4 years as leader had earned him a level of respect, but not unquestioning obedience. And in that moment, fear was a more powerful force than respect. My family is involved in this, Roman said softly, moving closer to Silas. My cousin lives just a few blocks from their territory. If they push forward, she'll be in the middle of it. I can't just stand by and hope you're right. Have faith in me, Silas said, placing a hand on his friend's shoulder. Rook and I have both identified the breakaway group. We're meeting tomorrow to figure out a plan. Figure out a plan? Viper's voice was filled with scorn. You're going to sit down with the man who has been our adversary for 6 years while our homes are about to be attacked. It's not... A phone rang, then another, then 5 more at once. Silas felt a chill as his members read their screens. It says the Phantoms are on the move now, someone shouted. An early attack, 30 bikes coming this way. That's not possible, Silas said, but he checked his own phone. Sure enough, a text from a blocked number. Change of plans. Phantoms couldn't wait. They're on their way now. You have 20 minutes. Roman went to the window. Silas, there's activity on the road. Headlights. The room erupted. Members grabbed their weapons, took up defensive positions. Someone turned off the main lights. The compound was plunged into darkness, except for the security lights. Silas ran to the window. In the distance, he could see headlights, motorcycles approaching at a slow pace, At least a dozen of them. His phone rang. Rook. Silas, listen to me. Rook's voice was insistent. Are your men on the move? Silas demanded. What? No, everyone is at the headquarters. Why? Because we have bikes heading toward our compound right now. A pause on the line. Silas? Rook pressed. That's not us, Rook said, his voice measured. Silas, we're at the headquarters, all of us. Whatever you're seeing. A gunshot echoed through the night. Someone at the Serpent's compound had fired at the approaching motorcycles. The bikes turned and fled, their engines roaring, but the harm was done. Was that a gunshot? Rook's voice was loud on the phone. Someone just fired at... Silas paused, the reality of the situation hitting him with full force. They weren't your men. They were the breakaway group, Rook finished. They faked an approach to make you believe we were attacking, and someone in your compound shot at them to make it look real. Who? Silas turned to face his men. Who fired that shot? Roman was already grabbing a younger member by the shirt. Who gave the order to shoot? The young man, barely 21, was shaking. I thought they were attacking. Before the message said they would. Roman shook him. I panicked. Silas's phone buzzed with new texts. Several members were forwarding the same message. Serpents just fired on Phantom Scouts. The war has begun. Defend the headquarters. No, 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 Silas whispered. The message was already reaching Rook's club. Rook, you have to hold your people back from... Too late, Rook said, his voice flat. Viper just got 30 guys together. They're getting on their bikes. They believe you just declared war. Outside both compounds, engines roared to life. The fuse had reached the end. Rook didn't try to stop Viper. Instead, he did something that went against all his instincts. He allowed 30 Phantoms to ride off into the night, engines screaming with rage, heading for Serpent territory. Chief, what are you doing? Bear grabbed his arm. They're going to start a war. I know. Rook's voice was surprisingly steady. But if I try to stop them with force, I'll lose the club. Viper will call me a coward. Half the members will side with him over me. So you're just letting them leave? No. Rook took out his phone, still on the line with Silas. How many of your men are riding out? Silas's voice was tight. 20, maybe 25. Roman is leading them. I couldn't stop them without a fight. Same here, but listen to me. Neither of us is with those groups. That means the only ones riding into this conflict are the ones who were already itching for a fight. What are you getting at? My point is that we're the only two who know what's really happening. And if our hotheads clash on the streets, the breakaway group gets what they want. Rook watched Viper's taillights fade into the distance. We stick with the plan. The cafe, 6 a.m. we meet, and we figure out how to end this before people start dying. If they fight before dawn, we'll handle it then. But for now, you and I meeting is our only option. Silas was quiet for a few seconds. 6 a.m.? Don't be late. The call disconnected. Bear looked at Rook. You're risking everything on one meeting. I'm risking everything on the belief that Silas is smart enough to see what I see. Rook grabbed his jacket. Keep everyone else here. If Viper gets back before I do, tell him I went to scout Serpent positions. That's a lie. It's about survival. The night passed in tense silence. Rook's phone buzzed with texts every few minutes, reports from members who had ridden out with Viper. They had reached the edge of Serpent territory. They had spotted scouts. There was shouting, posturing, but no shots fired. Not yet. At 3:17 a.m., Viper's group met Roman's riders at the intersection of Ash and Industrial. 30 Phantoms faced off against 25 Serpents across 50 feet of worn pavement. Engines humming, weapons displayed, hands on their firearms. But Roman had ordered a stop. We're not doing this on the street, Roman had declared, his voice clear across the intersection. You want a war? Come to the compound in the light of day. Let's do this right. Viper, surprisingly, had agreed. Maybe the reality of looking down the barrel of a gun had tempered his anger. Maybe he had realized that dying on the street at 3 a.m. wasn't as glorious as he had imagined. In any case, both groups had stood down for the time being. Rook read the report and allowed himself a moment of relief. They had a few hours, maybe just enough. At 5:47 a.m., Rook pulled his motorcycle into the parking lot of Sal's Diner, a weathered establishment off Highway 88 that had been serving road-weary travelers and night owls for decades. The sun was just a hint on the horizon, coloring the sky in hues of red and purple. Silas's bike was already parked. Rook found him in a booth in the corner. 2 mugs of coffee on the table. No security, no entourage, just 2 club leaders meeting in secret while their men prepared for a battle that would destroy them both. "You look terrible," Silas said as Rook slid into the booth. "You don't look much better." Rook took the coffee mug. It was dark and strong. Perfect. They were quiet for a moment. 2 men who had been rivals for 6 years, now forced into an unlikely partnership. "How did you find out?" Silas finally asked. "About the breakaway group." Rook took out the envelope from the factory and slid it across the table. Silas read the note, studied the map, his face growing darker with each passing second. "I found similar clues," Silas said, his voice low. He took out his phone and showed Rook photos he had taken at the junkyard. "That's Cross, my former second-in-command. And that's Viper from your club. They have at least 30 men, military-grade weapons, and they've been preparing for this for a long time." "They knew exactly how to manipulate us," Rook said. "The abductions, the anonymous texts, the doctored photos, all of it was designed to make us turn on each other." While they waited to pick up the pieces, Silas put his phone away. "Clever, ruthless, but clever." "So, what's our move?" Silas leaned back, his gaze meeting Rook's. "We have 2 choices. We can let our clubs go to war, which is exactly what they want. Or we strike them first," Rook finished. "Together." The word hung between them like a challenge. "Do you realize what you're proposing?" Silas's voice was low. "A temporary truce between the Phantoms and the Serpents. Half our members would see that as a betrayal." "Then we don't call it a truce. We call it a coordinated attack on a mutual threat." Rook leaned in. "Your men and mine are already primed for a fight. They're full of adrenaline, armed, and angry. We just point them at the real enemy. The junkyard, tonight. We hit them before they're prepared, before they can execute whatever their final move is." Silas thought about it, his fingers tapping on the table. "It's a huge risk. If our men find out we're cooperating, we'll lose all respect. Some might even join the breakaway group out of anger. Then we keep it under wraps. Your key people coordinate with mine. We make it look like 2 independent attacks that just happen to occur at the same time." Rook's eyes were intense. "But we exchange information. We provide cover for each other. And when it's over, we handle the consequences. And after, when the breakaway group is gone, then we go back to being rivals, territory issues, business conflicts, whatever, but at least we'll be around to have those fights." Silas extended his hand. "One battle, one night. Then it's over." Rook grasped his hand. "One battle." They shook on it, sealing a pact that both of them knew was unstable, temporary, and absolutely crucial. Outside, the sun finally crested the horizon, creating long shadows in the parking lot. 2 leaders who were supposed to be enemies had just become something far more formidable, allies with nothing left to lose. "We move tonight," Rook said, getting up. "Midnight, the junkyard. Bring every man who can ride and fight." "I'll have my people ready," Silas also stood. "Rook, if this goes south, it won't. But if it does and your men attack mine, I will handle Viper personally. And you do the same with anyone on your side who breaks the plan? Silas nodded. Midnight. They left separately, with a 10-minute gap between them. Two unlikely allies plotting in the dim morning light. By that night, the game would be completely changed. Rook returned to the headquarters at 7:15 a.m. to find Viper pacing in the auto shop like a caged predator. "Where have you been?" Viper demanded. "Scouting serpent positions," Rook lied without hesitation. "They've got lookouts on the west side, but their east flank is vulnerable. We can exploit that." Viper's eyes gleamed. "So, we're attacking them tonight?" "Midnight. I want every member armed and ready." Rook walked past him toward his office. "Get the senior members together. We need to plan this carefully." Within an hour, Rook had his trusted circle gathered. Bear, Leo, Styx, Hawk, and Cole. He shut the office door and spoke in a low tone. "What I'm about to tell you stays in this room," Rook said. "Tonight's target isn't the serpents. It's the junkyard in Greystone, the breakaway group." "What?" Leo's eyes widened. "But Viper thinks exactly what I want him to think, and he's going to lead half our club to the junkyard, believing they're going to raid a serpent weapons stash." Rook laid a map on his desk. "The serpents are attacking it as well, from the other side, but neither group can know we're working together." "You're using our own men as bait," Cole said, his voice quiet. "I'm keeping them alive," Rook retorted. "If Viper finds out we're cooperating with Silas, he'll cause a rift in the club. Some will follow him, some will follow me, and we'll end up fighting each other instead of the real threat." Bear examined the map. "So, we tell the regular members it's a serpent target. They'll ride out seeking revenge, but in reality, we're attacking the breakaway group." "Exactly. And when they see serpents there, they'll assume Silas's crew is defending it. The battle will start on its own, except both sides will actually be attacking the same people, Cross and his followers." "That's a crazy plan," Leo said. "What if our men start shooting at the serpents anyway?" "That's where you come in." Rook looked at his trusted men. "You five will ride with the main group, but your true mission is to redirect fire, identify the real targets, and make sure no one attacks the serpents unless it's absolutely necessary. Spread the word quietly. Target the people in the junkyard, not the other bikes." Styx frowned. "How will we tell them apart in the dark?" "The breakaway group doesn't wear club colors. No patches, no identification. Anyone in plain clothes is a target. But if you see anyone with serpent patches, you steer our guys away from them." "This is a very risky plan," Bear muttered. "It's the only plan we have." Rook looked each of them in the eye. "Can you do this?" One by one they agreed. Across the city, Silas was having the same conversation with his trusted lieutenants. Roman, Kane, and 3 others were in Silas's private office, their faces showing their confusion as he laid out the plan. "You want us to deceive our own brothers?" Roman asked, his voice filled with disbelief. "I want us to make it out of this alive," Silas said, his tone firm. "The regular members will ride out thinking we're hitting a phantom weapons cache. They'll fight with everything they've got because they believe in the cause. But the real targets are the breakaway group members inside. And when they see phantom bikes, you tell them the phantoms are already there, trying to take the weapons. Funnel their aggression toward the junkyard itself, not toward Rook's men." Silas showed them the photos from his surveillance. "These are your targets, Crossjet and anyone else not wearing club colors. If you see a phantom patch, you hold your fire unless they shoot first." Kane crossed his arms. "What if they do shoot first?" "Then you defend yourselves. I'm not asking you to be lambs to the slaughter. I'm asking you to be strategic." Silas's voice was hard. "If we go to war with the phantoms tonight, we lose everything. If we take out the breakaway group, we both get to live another day. It's that simple." The room was quiet as the gravity of the situation sank in. "When do we tell the others the truth?" one lieutenant asked. "After," Silas said. "When the breakaway group is defeated and everyone's adrenaline has worn off, then we explain what really happened." "Some of them will never forgive this," Roman cautioned. "I know." Silas's jaw was set. "But they'll be alive to hold a grudge?" The day was a whirlwind of organized chaos. At the Phantom's headquarters, Rook addressed the entire club at 2 p.m. He stood on a platform, speaking to 87 members. "The Serpents have a weapons stash at a junkyard in Greystone," Rook declared. "Heavy weapons, stolen tactical gear. They've been preparing for a major assault on us." Angry murmurs spread through the group. "Tonight at midnight, we take it from them. Every bike, every member. We ride together. We strike hard. And we show them that the Steel Phantoms do not back down." Rook raised his fist. "Who rides with me?" The response was a deafening roar. Viper grinned, a predator ready for the hunt. "Now we're talking." Rook made eye contact with Bear across the room. His old friend gave a slight nod. The plan was in motion. Members spent the afternoon getting ready, cleaning their weapons, loading ammo, and topping off their gas tanks. The auto shop became a weapons depot. The parking lot became a military staging area. The air was thick with a mixture of fear and anticipation. Leo moved through the crowd, speaking quietly to the members he trusted. "When we arrive, focus your fire on the people inside the junkyard, not on the other bikes. Pass it on, but be discreet." The message circulated like a quiet rumor. At the Serpent's compound, the scene was identical. Silas stood before his 80 members, delivering the same carefully crafted lie. "The Phantoms have been amassing weapons at a junkyard. Tonight we seize it. We show them they can't build up an arsenal in our territory." The reaction was just as intense. As evening approached, both clubs were like coiled vipers, ready to strike. Members said their farewells to their families, checked their bikes one last time, and packed extra ammo. Some penned letters, just in case. Others made calls to old friends. A few offered up a prayer. Neither club knew they were preparing for the exact same battle. At 10 p.m., Rook got a coded message from Silas. "West side is clear. Timing is set." Rook responded, "North side is ready. See you on the other side." At 11 p.m., the Steel Phantoms left their compound in a deafening convoy. 87 bikes, their headlights piercing the night, riding toward what they thought was enemy ground. 30 minutes later, the Crimson Serpents left their compound. 80 bikes, their engines rumbling, heading for the same spot from a different direction. Rook rode near the front of the Phantom formation, with Bear at his side, his heart pounding. Everything hinged on the next few hours, the intricate dance of controlled chaos, the faith he had placed in his lieutenants, and the hope that Silas would keep his end of the bargain. At 11:47 p.m., both groups neared the junkyard from opposite directions. Rook could see the lights of the compound up ahead, the metal structures casting long, dark shadows. Somewhere on the other side, Silas was seeing the same thing. "Kill the lights," Rook commanded. "We're going in quiet." 87 bikes went dark and silent, moving forward like specters. The junkyard was completely unaware that two armies were about to converge on it, and for a brief moment before the storm broke, Rook had a single thought. "This has to work." Midnight erupted with the sound of gunfire. The Steel Phantoms stormed the junkyard from the north. Bikes crashed through the fence in a wave of disciplined aggression. Bright lights came on as the breakaway group fought to defend their compound. Figures darted between shipping containers and piles of wrecked cars. "Take them out!" Viper yelled, and the night was filled with the sound of bullets. But from the south, a simultaneous attack began. The Crimson Serpents broke through the other side of the fence, trapping the defenders in a surprise pincer movement they had not foreseen. Inside the junkyard, Cross was shouting orders to his 30-person crew. "It's both of them, both clubs." The breakaway group had been ready for a war between the Phantoms and the Serpents, not a war against them. Their defenses were facing outward, not inward. Their escape plans were based on an attack from a single direction. In a matter of minutes, their well-laid plans devolved into a desperate fight for survival. Rook took cover behind a massive crane, signaling for Bear to move to the left. Across the compound, he saw Silas doing the same, leading his serpents with practiced skill. Their eyes met for a fleeting second amidst the chaos. A silent confirmation that the plan was unfolding as it should. "Focus on the containers," Bear yelled to the nearby Phantoms. "Anyone not wearing colors?" The message spread through both clubs. Phantoms and Serpents, who had been on the verge of killing each other just hours before, now directed their combined rage at the true enemy. The breakaway group fighters, clad in unmarked gear, found themselves under attack from both sides. Viper charged ahead, his animosity toward the Serpents temporarily forgotten as he focused on the figures shooting at him from the center of the compound. "These traitors set us up!" he screamed, not realizing the full truth of his words. A pickup truck started up near the east fence. Cross and 4 others were trying to escape. Silas saw it first. "They're making a run for it," he yelled. Rook was already in motion. He started his motorcycle, racing across the junkyard with Bear and Cole right behind him. Silas and Roman did the same from their side. Both groups were closing in on the escaping truck. The pursuit moved to the access road, a fast-paced chase under a star-filled sky. The truck swerved erratically as motorcycles closed in from both sides. Phantoms on the left, Serpents on the right, moving in a perfectly synchronized, though unplanned, formation. Cole pulled up next to the truck's cab, his face a grimace of fury. This was the man who had taken his daughter. He pulled out a heavy chain and swung it at the driver's side window, shattering the glass. The truck veered to the right. Roman fired 2 rounds into the front tire. The truck spun out of control, crashed through a barrier, and landed in a ditch, steam pouring from the damaged engine. Rook and Silas arrived at the wreck at the same time, their weapons raised. They pulled Cross from the driver's seat while their men surrounded the truck, cutting off any chance of escape. Cross laughed, blood dripping from a gash on his forehead. "You're too late. You've already killed each other in your minds. The doubt has been planted." "Tell them the truth," Silas demanded, pressing his gun to Cross's head. "All of it." Behind them, both clubs had gathered. Over 150 bikers formed a large circle around the crashed truck. Phantoms on one side, Serpents on the other, all breathing heavily, all wondering why they weren't at each other's throats. "Tell them," Rook commanded. Cross spit out a mouthful of blood. "Fine. We took both girls, planted the clues, sent the texts. All of it," he smiled through his injuries. "We wanted you to tear each other apart so we could take everything you had. Your territories, your operations, your influence." "We," Viper stepped forward. "Who's we?" "Ex-members from both your clubs. People you cast out, wronged, left behind." Cross's eyes were filled with defiance. 30 of us, working together for a year. We were meticulous, we were strategic, and we came so close to winning." The words hung in the air. Viper turned slowly to face Rook. "You knew?" "I had a suspicion," Rook said, his tone measured. That's why you worked with him," Viper pointed at Silas. "You cooperated with the Serpents to save both our clubs," Silas said, his voice firm. "Your leader did what was necessary, so did mine." Roman stepped forward, addressing the Serpents. "Silas discovered the truth days ago. He could have let us all perish fighting the Phantoms. Instead, he chose to protect us." Bear spoke up, his voice carrying to the Phantoms. "Rook did the same. He put the club's well-being first. That's what a leader does." The tension was palpable. 150 men were processing the betrayal, the manipulation, and the hard-to-swallow fact that their leaders had secretly joined forces with their rivals to save them. Finally, Cole spoke, his voice clear in the silence. My daughter is safe because these two figured out the truth. Chloe is safe because they worked together. I don't give a damn how they did it. One by one, the members began to nod, hesitantly at first, then with a growing sense of understanding. Viper looked at Rook for a long moment, then spit on the ground. This doesn't mean we're allies. I never said it did, Rook replied. Silas turned to his serpents. We will find what's left of the breakaway group. Anyone who was involved with Cross, we will hunt them down. Together, if needed. Then, this is over. Over the next week, both clubs worked to track down the remaining members of the conspiracy. They applied pressure to informants. They cut off supply chains. By the end of the week, the breakaway group was no more. Lily and Chloe, safe at home with their families, would bear the emotional scars, but they would recover. The clubs held a joint meeting, the first and only one of its kind, to declare a temporary ceasefire to prevent any further attempts at destabilization. Rook and Silas shook hands one last time at that meeting, both aware that they would likely go back to being adversaries in the future. But for now, they had accomplished the impossible. They had survived by trusting each other. And in the shadows of that junkyard, 87 bikers had stormed a factory to save a stolen girl. What they discovered inside was a revelation. The truth